First quarter, now we in the fourth quarter, man.
Welcome back to the fourth quarter, the number one place for the business of sports and entertainment. Siraj, how'd you sleep last night, man?
I thought I slept pretty well, but my Whoop score said otherwise.
Okay, so there's this new tweet that went pretty viral this past week by this guy named Dr. Brandon Liu, and he tweeted this study that basically showed that if you tell yourself that you slept well, even when you scientifically and by the numbers didn't, you can increase cognitive performance. And the other way around too, like if you tell yourself you didn't sleep well, it'll decrease cognitive performance. So I'm done checking my Whoop score in the morning. That's literally religiously the first thing I do when I wake up to see. I was like, oh, was that a good night's rest? But I think that's toxic now, so I'm gonna stop doing that. I'm just gonna tell myself.
Yeah, I like naturally check my Whoop score though every single time I wake up, and I'm like, oh, like green, that's good. And then your day kind of feels better.
Yeah.
And at the same time, if it's yellow or red, it's like I feel so tired. Like, oh, it made sense because I didn't sleep that well. But in reality, you can just completely flip it if you just tell yourself in the morning, hey, I slept good. Now, for today, I honestly feel great just because the energy is always up in the morning on Thursdays because that's when we record the show.
The nerves are flowing.
The nerves, the adrenaline, it's just so much fun to get into it. So when I woke up, I didn't feel too groggy.
That's good. That's good. But now don't check your score. According to this study, like you can just tell yourself.
So do you ever check your sleep score?
I'm going to start checking it the night after when I'm going to sleep. So I can tell how I woke up the night or how I performed during sleep the night.
Yeah, you could say,
prior.
oh, like I went to sleep at this time, woke up at this time. Let's like recorrect it for this night.
Yeah. So we both need to get on proper sleep schedules. That's like my next 3-month goal to get better on sleep schedule.
We got to be on that like Jordy and John routine.
Yeah,
I wake
shout
up
out
like
TVPN.
5:30, go to sleep at 9.
Run of the show, we'll dive right in. Stack docket today. A lot of cool topics that we could talk about, but we're going to have to talk about the Apollo Sports Capital deal, investing $225 million into Pickleball Inc. That's the third largest private equity firm and their sports investment arm that just invested into the parent company of PPA Tour, which is the Professional Pickleball Association Tour, and the MLP, Major League Pickleball. They're about to roll up this entire industry. This is actually one of the coolest deals that I've seen.
A very creative investment approach.
Yeah.
And it's a funny switch up because last investment that Apollo had was buying Atletico Madrid, and now they're going into pickleball.
One of the largest global soccer teams, right? So very interesting. I think this is I'm a nerd about this, so we'll talk about that. A lot of cool stuff there. Producer Pablo, we're going to have to jump into the cultural zeitgeist. Fox Sports and Indeed are partnering up for the World Cup, and they're launching a new job posting, $50,000 salary for 39 days of work. Okay. Seems like a dream come true.
Yeah.
You're working in a glass box in the middle of Times Square, and you're essentially the chief World Cup watch officer, where you're literally watching all 104 games across that 39-day period of the World Cup.
Is there a bunch of screens or something?
I actually have no idea. I think that because there's no shot you can mathematically do that. There's games that are overlapping. You have to be watching multiple games. You can't just do one screen.
Yeah,
I feel like
that sounds overstimulating, and they better have some AC in that glass box. It's
yeah,
about to be
the
so
sun.
hot.
Oh my God,
It's about to be so hot in New York City.
I
honestly can't wait because wintertime here just sucks. It's just too cold.
Yeah, but in a glass box, they got to put air conditioning, fresh water. They got to have you servicing. Yeah, that'll be interesting. Stunt marketing is getting out of control. That's good for them. I feel like.
No, I love stunt marketing. I think it's perfect for big occasions, especially for the World Cup.
Yeah, 100% agree. And then I thought that was crazy. And then Kevin Hart and Michelob Ultra are somehow partnering to surpass that stunt marketing feat. They're launching a new job title, the CTO, not Chief Technology Officer, Chief Trophy Officer for the World Cup's last game, the final match. And they're paying $90,000 salary for 90 minutes of work.
Yeah.
You're literally supposed to be the trophy bearer.
Yeah.
So you're supposed to submit a video and there's and tag them on socials or
We'll
something.
give you the rundown on how to apply.
On how to. This is producer Pablo's dream job, isn't it, producer Pablo?
Oh yeah, I'm putting in my 2 weeks notice.
No, bro, we cannot let producer Pablo go, but that could be really cool. And I'll tell you, producer Pab, of how to apply because it's pretty cool when we get to it. In the world of team and league news, the first time we're talking about the IPL, the Indian Premier League, the largest stage for cricket. I'm surprised we haven't talked about them yet, but they just had a landmark deal. The Rajasthan Royals, one of their teams, just sold for $1.6 billion. Let's go to Lakshmi Mittal. Indian steel billionaire. He swooped the deal in the last minute, buzzer beater, literally a buzzer beater, from a consortium of American investors, including Rob Walton, the chair, I guess the heir to the Walmart empire.
Yeah, and they have ownership in the Broncos.
And the Denver Broncos, and a couple other people, which is pretty interesting. We'll break that down. It was literally a last minute.
And a lot of people made money from this, by the way.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting in the world. And also, to continue on the team and league transactions, we just got our first ever women's sports franchise hit $1 billion valuation. Supposedly, according to CNBC, the Golden State Valkyries were the #1 valuation on CNBC's new list of WNBA team.
And the expansion fee was only $50 million. So
crazy markup.
Yeah, crazy markup for like the past 2 days or past couple of years. Sorry. And it's supposedly because there's some, other valuation charts have it at $850 million. I think Sportico released recently. It said $850. CNBC is saying $1 billion. But great for the WNBA. That's huge.
Huge week for women's sports. So shout out them. Shout out the Golden State Valkyries. We'll touch on that and break that down very soon. In the world of sports real estate, FastBreak AI, the AI-powered scheduling software that builds the seasons behind the NBA, MLS, MLB, NHL, they just bought a 17-year-old group hotel booking and housing management software company called Group Housing. They're on an M&A spree. Group Housing is based out of Decatur, Georgia.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay. Shout out Decatur.
Shout out Decatur. So cool to see that, and we'll break that down, why that mix of software and tech, what they're going to do, what that new acquisition kind of looks like, and what that'll mean for youth sports. In the world of emerging sports leagues, we can actually not just report for once and can talk about us being there. We went to IDL this past weekend, International Dance League here in New York City, Hammerstein Ballroom.
Yeah.
It was phenomenal.
Yeah, it was such a show, such a spectacle. I was really surprised at how much of it felt like a live experience rather than just a sport. It was like the perfect mix. So, producer Pablo will show all the videos.
Yeah, we got
crazy
receipts.
lines. The lines were insane.
The production was crazy. Saweetie performed at halftime. I guess there was even a halftime. It was like head to head.
There was a halftime show.
I've never even seen something like this, but it was insane. So shout out to that team. We're gonna break it down. We'll tell you why we're super bullish on it, or why I am at least. Then we have to talk about our industry spotlight. Can we call him a friend?
Yeah.
Our new friend, Spencer Jones.
We've spoken with him only a few times.
Times. Great guy. NBA forward for the Denver Nuggets, and mostly known to the sports business community as a LinkedIn warrior. He just finished his second NBA season, and he's crushing off the court too. So I feel like it's only right that we spotlight him.
Oh, absolutely. And I love this new trend of, athletes getting on LinkedIn.
Yeah, we had Sean O'Malley, Sugar Sean O'Malley, the UFC GOAT, just announced this past 2 days ago that he launched a LinkedIn account.
Really? Okay. The content's probably gonna be pretty good.
You think he'll accept you if you tried to request him?
Fourth quarter.
Yeah, we got to get that on his radar.
We got to get that on his radar for sure.
So, producer Pablo, I don't know if this fully counts, but we're on a streak. We have to keep this alive. I think this counts as like a semi-new fund alert, right?
Okay, semi-new fund alert.
Yeah. So
let's keep the streak going.
Yeah, William Blair, the Chicago-based investment bank that did $850 billion in transactions over the last 5 years alone, just bought Inner Circle Sports, a boutique sports-focused investment bank. A lot of cool stuff. We're continuing to see these institutional financial juggernauts come into sports through
William
acquisitions.
Blair is, it's known as one of the elite investment banking shop. Not as big as your bulge brackets,
sure,
obviously with the Bank of America, Goldman, JPM, but it's great that they're also diversifying into sports. Inner Circle is one of the OG boutique shops that focus on sports and way back when. Now, obviously, sports is hot and people want exposure. So I think it makes sense.
We'll talk about what that deal means for the sports industry and whether that's good or bad and what trends will come from that. In startup news this week, we're playing a new game, okay? I'm going to tell you about this startup that just got funded by VCs and athletes, and you're going to tell me if you're bullish on them or bearish on it.
Okay.
And you can't break any hearts. You can't be afraid to break any hearts.
I'm not in the game of
I'm surprised.
Breaking hearts, but I'm also not in the game of just
making enemies.
Making enemies. Look, My thing is, I'm going to give you my raw take, but I'm not going to be too harsh about it.
Okay, fair.
But it's going to be raw.
So Bathhouse is this new sauna and contrast therapy.
They've been there for a while.
Yeah,
but
yeah, I
it's
guess
still like the concept is relatively new.
premium experience. They just raised $35 million from Imaginary Ventures and athletes like Klay Thompson, Marcus Smart, and DK Metcalf. We'll talk about that, what that means, their future growth plans. In the cool partnership news this past week, we have to talk about the Savannah Bananas. They partnered with Dude Perfect, and they just created the second highest attended MLB game or baseball game I can't believe they surpassed that, the MLB in attendance, but they somehow did that, and that's insane.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about it. Apparently, they're worth a ton of money as well. So.
Yeah, they're doing $100 to $150 million in annual revenue. Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy, yeah.
And the founder has turned away $1 billion offers.
Really?
Yeah.
No way, $1
Yeah.
billion offers?
Yeah. He said that on the show for My First Million. So
Okay.
we'll have to do that.
Hike up the selling price.
Yeah, exactly. And then, of course, you'll end it, Professor Siraj, with a crash course.
It's not
going to
be an AP
markets.
history lesson, but I like to give updates on prediction markets just because I'm very, I want to stay tapped in on what's happening. Obviously, there's a ton of things that are going on, whether it's sports leagues or teams partnering in prediction markets, or lawsuits that are coming from states onto prediction markets, new markets that are opening, companies that are trying to get into the space. Like, so much motion's happening. I'll give you the full rundown.
Love it. Let's dive right in. Headline story: Apollo Sports, the sports investment arm of global private equity giant, the third largest private equity firm, Apollo Global Management. They just wrote a $225 million check into Pickleball Inc. Like I said up top, they are the holding company, the parent company of kind of the governing bodies of pickleball right now, PPA Tour and MLP, like I mentioned. So they invested alongside Tom Dundon. That name is very familiar for people that have known the sports business space. He is the billionaire that owns the Carolina Hurricanes and a piece of the Trailblazers that he recently just purchased a few months ago. So the total capital raised for this new parent company is about $315 million, puts them at a $750 million valuation. Crazy, right? The world of pickleball, good for them. And this is I'm gonna list off what they're rolling up. This is about to be crazy. This is like the private equity golden pot of opportunities, especially in sports. Like, I don't know if it gets any better than this. They're about to roll up this entire industry. Okay. So
Give me the rundown. I want to hear it.
Okay. So the new parent company is rolling up Carvana PPA Tour, the Pro Tour.
Okay.
Major League Pickleball, the Team League. Pickleball Central, a retailer since 2006. I didn't even know there was a retailer for pickleball since 2006.
Yeah. E-commerce shop too, right?
Yeah. 1 million orders. They have 100+ pro shops. Pickleball Play Solutions. It powers 90% of organized tournament and league play.
Okay.
Hosted 4,500 tournaments and 2,000 league seasons in 2025 this past year.
Love to hear it.
Just Courts, which is the court construction.
Okay. That's kind of niche, but I like it.
Pickleball.com, which is the media company. Pickleball TV, which is the 24/7 channel, and JV with the tennis channel. Duper, which is the rating system.
Yeah.
Has 1 million rated players on there. Stake in the Pickler, which is the indoor facility for pickleball. And the combined businesses did $140 million last year. And the PPA and MLP leagues alone did $60 million last year. Isn't that nuts?
Yeah. So I love this roll-up strategy because, look, let's be real. You can't place all of your bets on just the league itself. Pickleball as a sport has, been on this massive tailwind where they're growing at a rapid pace. I think it's the fastest growing sport in the U.S. The growth has been slowing down a bit. I think previous year growth rates were like 40 to 50%. Now they're slowing down to 2025, which is still really, really fast.
So just for some context, though, so there were 24 million players in the U.S. last year, roughly, and they said there were like $4.2 million in 2020. So yes, it has been increasing, but still looking back the last 5 years, crazy growth.
Yeah, crazy growth. I think a lot of it has to do with court transformation. You're seeing like people are trying to like reform tennis courts into pickleball courts. And I think that there's this sentiment where it's like, this is still kind of a fad. Like, I feel like you pull up when I went on X and saw the announcement that this happened, there was a lot of people that were hating on it. They're like, wow, like how is like Apollo going to go from acquiring Atletico Madrid to investing in pickleball?
Yeah.
But I think the sport actually has a lot of long lasting potential. What a lot of people feel, especially if they're not a pickleball player, maybe they're actually really into tennis, is that a lot of old people are the ones that are playing pickleball, and that it's not really catching on with the youth, but quite the opposite is actually happening. The average age for pickleball is now 35, whether you're
Which
a viewer
is
or
shocking,
a player.
right?
25 to
shocking.
34 is the largest single age bracket as well.
That's lower than like the NBA, NHL, right?
From a viewership
From a
perspective.
viewership
So that
perspective, yeah.
actually is great for the league and the two leagues, the PPA Tour, Pickleball TV, the streaming platform as well, and Major League Pickleball. But I do think that participation as it's de-aging is huge because you're going to start seeing a lot of younger kids playing. I think the real opportunity here is owning the competitive level. Because like you said, right, they run all the tournaments. They have, I think, a stake or investment in Duper, which is rating this competitive play. I think that there's a lot of money actually to be made from organizing these tournaments and building it up from ground up because there's not that much infrastructure there right now. But I think it will continue to grow. Indoor facilities, I'm not like big on like the real estate play because it can be quite expensive to play on these
very
indoor courts.
capital expensive.
I was seeing something where it was like it costs $130 in New York City to rent out an indoor court, right? Like for an hour.
That might be a New York City problem, though.
That might be a New York City problem, but I think that the real angle here is build out that tournament level because I think it's going to get continually more competitive, especially if younger people are playing and are getting more interested. And the last thing that I want to say is that who's watching pickleball? That's what
I actually don't know.
I don't know. I personally don't know.
Yeah.
But if a lot of young people, let's say kids, like even Gen Alpha, even the new generation, I don't know what the names are for it nowadays, but if they're getting into pickleball before they even get into tennis, there's a chance that they just start consuming pickleball content instead of just tennis content, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe they're still watching tennis content, but they're tuning into what's going on at the PPA Tour and MLP. So I think there's a real opportunity if they're able to continue to lower the age bracket of competitive play and also just interest in the sport overall.
Yeah, and the viewership is like real though. It's not a vanity metric. So the PPA Carvana Masters on CBS in January of this year had 791,000 average viewers and 1 million at its peak, the biggest pickleball broadcast ever. That outdrew the NBA on Amazon Prime, the Big Ten's basketball on NBC, which had 719K, and the Big 12 hoops on ESPN, and the Premier League on USA Network. So, I mean, this is like rivaling real like leagues.
Like the finals.
The finals,
yeah.
right?
I mean, they got to be able to consistently get more,
But it's a big signal. And also, I want to take a step back. Like, this is the perfect opportunity for a private equity player like Apollo Sports. They just rolled up not just the leagues, but you have everything. You have like the media. You roll up the entire sport. Like, that is really cool.
All right, so I got a fun angle on this.
Okay.
And this is where I actually love this investment or this opportunity. We'll see how it plays out, but I think it's actually a very safe bet because what we've seen is that it's not only is the demographic de-aging, is that it's very wealthy people that are playing pickleball, and they have a lot of spending power.
What's the average salary for a player or like the income? Do you know?
So I was looking at this. I think the average salary or income, it's like the bracket of the most pickleball players is like 100,000 plus.
So very affluent.
Annual salary. So very affluent. And you could tell by the equipment manufacturers and how much they're selling rackets for. So I was looking at Selkirk, Jula. These are some of the biggest equipment manufacturers. These rackets are going for $300 plus. I just looked at Wilson on Wilson's website. Their new, I think it's like Blade V10s. I think it's Sabalenka's tennis racket. They're going for $300. So it's literally as expensive to play like competitive pickleball as it is to just play tennis as well. So you're going to continue to see that there's opportunity to make a lot of money given just how much, how much higher of a price point you can set some of this equipment as well.
Yeah, I actually very much agree. And with this private equity roll-up kind of play, you're de-risking it, right? Like, you're getting the entire stack. So you kind of just have to bet that pickleball is going to grow as a sport, and you're just going to reap the benefits across all the different facets.
And it's still growing really fast.
It's still
I
growing.
think that they can really capture a lot of these market tailwinds.
Okay, the last thing I'm going to say on this, I think one other piece that they need to eventually roll up is the social component. And shout out to our boy,
Max.
Max Aid, co-founder of Pickleheads. Pickleheads is based in Atlanta. Shout out Atlanta again, another Atlanta-based company in
Yeah,
sports.
they basically own the whole social fabric of like finding courts, like
Finding players, people to play
to
with.
play pickleball with.
Tournament setup. Yeah,
that could be a really cool addition to the stack.
we had them very early on the T4Q podcast.
Yeah.
when we were figuring out what we wanted to
Back
do.
when we were babies.
Yeah.
We were like little. Yeah.
Yeah, so shout out Max. We're gonna have to get him back on, and it seems very big for pickleball as a whole. So I'm sure that's not gonna be the first and only time we're gonna talk about that. I think we'll talk about pickleball more. So producer Pablo, cultural headline. We're in the cultural zeitgeist. I mean, Fox Sports just posted a job listing for someone to sit in a glass box in Times Square and watch all 104 World Cup games for $50,000.
Really, $50,000. Honestly, I feel like it's not enough money to sit in a glass box for that
I
long.
actually agree with you. That's in the blazing sun in New York City.
But I will say one thing, though, is that it would do massive for your socials. Because if you get pictures of people seeing you, oh my God, he's in the glass box, like commentating on all the different World Cup games, I think that's a huge opportunity for you to just become like a big sports influencer. So I actually like that for your career than the trophy one.
Do you have to so this is how you have to this is how to apply, right? So you have to update an Indeed profile by May 17th, set it to the employers can find you, and then you have to post a video on socials saying Chief World Cup watcher. Okay. Do you think they're just gonna go with an influencer? There's no shot like a regular person.
No, I don't even think an influencer would do this.
Okay, well I don't know if you can even watch 104 games. There's overlap across all the
There's going to be like
games.
screens everywhere.
It's
I
like
guess.
a trading terminal where there's so many different screens. Okay, so I thought that was crazy. Stunt marketing 101, right? But this is why I think they're doing it, right? So Fox One is Fox's new bet, and they launched 9 months ago in August of last year.
It's like their streaming platform?
Their streaming platform at $19.99 per month, right? So it needs to scale before it starts to air and stream their NFL games during the NFL season.
Yeah.
And the World Cup is probably the single biggest and best event that they can capture.
Yeah.
One time, do crazy stunt marketing to gather viewers and subscribers so that it takes them into the NFL season, continues to be, high engaged.
And then use this as like your social media marketing strategy to get people on the app.
Exactly. So it makes sense from Fox's POV.
Yeah. I like that stunt marketing's in. I feel like the prediction markets, Kalshi and Poly Market were the ones who were the catalyst for this.
Yeah, they did like grocery stores in New York City.
Yeah, exactly. And then now it's like the streaming platforms are getting involved, and I like how it all kind of revolves around sports.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see who ends up doing it, and I think it's going to do wonders for their career. I will say it is a tall order, though.
Okay, so I thought about this. I'm not going to apply to that, but there is another one. There's another job.
Well, you better not apply to that. Who's gonna run the podcast with me?
I'll live stream in from the from the glass box. No, this next one is even crazier. Okay, so this was like 24 hours after this Fox one was announced. Michelob Ultra and Kevin Hart are partnering up, and they're launching a new job called the CTO, the Chief Trophy Officer, for the last game, the final match of the World Cup. And I said this up top, but you basically have to be the trophy bearer. They're taking somebody, and you get paid $90,000 for 90 minutes. You have to apply, and you have to submit a video and tag them and post on socials. I don't know if this is crazy. When I was doing research, I thought with producer Pablo's help, if we can create a cool enough video, we actually have a shot at this. It's not a tall order. It's 90 minutes. You get $90,000.
Yeah. So 90 minutes, like what is that 90 minutes
during
of
the
work
game?
entail?
During the game, you just have to be there.
Oh, you just
present.
have to be there. Yeah.
Yeah, you get 2 free tickets.
Okay.
So I actually have to take producer Pablo if he helps me film and edit this. And
well, I'm gonna send my own application then.
okay, who's gonna help edit your stuff?
No, you gotta edit mine.
I already
overseas.
called dibs on
You have
producer
to.
Pablo.
You have to.
All right. Well, I think that's interesting. We'll figure out that. But I'm actually serious. I actually will put in an application.
And so, how do you apply for it? What's the?
You have to just
Is it like a LinkedIn job?
a 90-second video explaining why you're the right candidate.
Oh, and you just submit it to Michelob,
and
like, there's probably a
you have to
website
submit
for
it, and then you have to post it on socials, and then there's like hashtag you use. So
Okay.
I love this World Cup.
Yeah,
There was a lot of negative stuff about World
I feel
Cup
like
coming
we got to
up.
get the energy
gotta get it
up,
up.
and I think these are 2 cool stunt marketing campaigns to get people excited.
Yeah. In team and league news, the Rajasthan Royals, one of the IPL teams, Indian Premier League teams, the biggest stage and league for cricket in the world, they just got bought for $1.65 billion in literally the 9th inning by a Indian steel billionaire, Lakshmi Mittal, and a another investor, Adar Poonawalla, who is the CEO of Serum Institute, which is a vaccine company based in India. So they came in at the last minute and they offered $15 million more than what was supposedly thought going to be the winning bidder. And that winning bidder of, that offer was essentially a consortium of American investors that included Walmart Empire heir Rob Walton, who's also the owner of the Denver Broncos NFL team, and the son of the owner of the Detroit Lions, I believe.
Yeah, I think it's Lions Broncos ownership that was involved with the consortium.
Yep, and an
they had a
Arizona-based
lead, I
tech
think,
investor.
though, of I may be saying this wrong, but the Samani family.
Yeah.
And so the Samani family was a lead. They brought in a bunch of American investors. Rajasthan Royals.
The Samani family, or I believe that gentleman that was leading it, he was an Arizona-based tech entrepreneur. So he put this group together.
Oh, right. Okay. So he put it together. So it's pretty much an American investor consortium. And essentially the deal, I guess, got swept under the rug in the 9th inning for the Middle family.
Yeah.
Right. So I think this is really interesting because American investors were really trying to get into the mix. We saw what happened with the with RCB, Royal Challengers Bangalore.
Yep.
They're based in Bangalore, one of the biggest cities in India. They were acquired by a consortium led by
last month,
led by Indian billionaire, but then also Blackstone and David Blitzer were involved. So you're starting to see this American capital coming into the mix. There are some investments that were being made outside capital that came in when IPL was initially launched, and you saw Redbird Capital. They actually invested in Rajasthan Royals in 2021. They're going to get a great return from that. Mm-hmm. We saw Lachlan Murdoch. He invested like a couple $1 million back in 2008 when the expansion franchise happened. IPL was created, and I saw a Sportico article that he literally got a 92x plus return
like
from,
it was
from
crazy.
the sale. So a lot of people made a ton of money, and it makes sense because American investors are looking at international sports opportunities. We're seeing this with NBA Europe, but IPL is one of the most exciting investments you can make. Sid, I know you have a bunch of numbers that you'd like to share just to show like the grandiose of it.
Yeah, so I'm really passionate about this because I was early to IPL. I remember watching this with my dad, like growing up, right? So now that there's these crazy price tags associated with all this, it seems like it's coming to spotlight, but IPL has been exciting and interesting to watch for a while.
Right. It's just really entering the American...
American zeitgeist, right? So the people that don't know what it is, the IPL, Indian Premier League, like I mentioned, the biggest stage in the world for cricket. It's essentially when $1.4 billion or 1.4 billion people in the world, in India, decide that this is essentially like a national religion, right? It's very similar to how NFL and football is for people here in America.
And like European football as well.
Exactly.
It's got that same, like cultural like dominance.
Yeah, and you have international players that are coming to play on these IPL teams, right? So you have like Australian players, South African players, right? All these different players. So it's really cool. You're bringing in global audiences. So it's 8 weeks long, the season. It runs from March through May. 10 teams, and it pulled over 1 billion viewers across TV and linear in last year.
Yeah.
Which is wild, right? Okay, so 2025 alone drew 169 million people on linear TV, making it the most watched broadcast in cricket ever on linear TV.
Yeah, and just for a comparison, the Super Bowl I think brought in 130 million people.
Yeah, so it
viewers on linear.
It's roughly a 5x from the peak concurrent of the Super Bowl on streaming. So they had 55 million peak concurrency on streaming.
Yeah, but linear, it's like, I mean, they're beating out the Super Bowl, which is insane.
So wild. I think that will help put into context how big IPL is. And then on a per match basis, the IPL is the second most valuable sports league in the world, only behind the NFL. And ahead of Premier League, the NBA, where each match is worth about $13.4 million in media rights.
Yeah, so
crazy.
American investors are really interested in IPL, not only because there's so much motion from a viewership level, but that there's it's a really safe bet to make because, one, it's a closed league system. So similar to American leagues, there is no promotion relegation, which is a cause for concern in investments in European football. I mean, look at the Tottenham Spurs, right? They're close to being relegated and going into the Championship League division, which would be disastrous when it comes from a valuation perspective. You don't get access to that level of media rights. At the same time, their cost structure is so much better than any other league. If you look at European football, there are some teams that are spending 100 plus, or like their wage to revenue ratio is over 100%. So they're literally like losing money just to pay players. For the IPL, it's a much more controlled cost structure. I mean, I think that'll change as more motion goes to cricket and a lot of these players get paid even more, but it's around 20%. And NFL, NBA is around 50%. So a lot of these teams are actually profitable, significantly profitable. I think the average profitability margin from an operating profit perspective is around 30%. So you can make a lot of money with these teams. And I think there's a lot of opportunity now because cricket is going to hit a global scale after the Olympics. I really do believe so.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. The bid spread, like I mentioned, was $15 million. The group prior that we mentioned offered 1.635, and the Mittal family came in, and his group of investors came in with 1.65 billion. So really cool. The Somani Group's public statement were obviously not super positive. They were the leading bidder for the entire 6-month process.
Right.
They were kind
you
of
really want this team because I mean there's some scarcity to it. That's hard to just get another IPL team. There's only 10 of them.
And they were essentially saying we were fully funded the entire time, right? And they were going into meetings and they were told from their meetings and this process that they're basically finalizing. They were going to be finalized to be the winning, acquirer. So crazy that didn't play out from their board meeting that happened a few days prior. But interesting.
It's a highly competitive market there.
Yeah, we'll see if other American investors get in. You said the earlier Royal Challengers Bengaluru that got bought by the American investors consortium, including American investors, a few weeks ago in March of 2026. That sold for $1.7 billion. So I think these will keep climbing, and more people will know about the stardom that cricket is in the IPL.
Yeah, it's very valuable in India. I'm looking forward to seeing it globalize, like Major League Cricket in the U.S. Like once you get other people watching IPL outside of India, the media rights value will skyrocket.
I think a lot of people are watching IPL outside of India. I don't think people here in the U.S. are predominantly watching it. And I think that's like another big market, right? So as Major League Cricket comes and starts bringing in U.S. audience, I think there will be a bigger adoption.
I agree.
Okay, in other league and team news, we have to talk about this. The Golden State Valkyries just became the first billion-dollar team in women's sports to hit that mark. Crazy. CNBC
put out the valuations.
Yeah, and they ranked first. They had $78 million in revenue. So the second highest was the New York Liberty with $43 million. Still huge for women's sports, but big gap between 1 and 2. And insane that this happened. They bought expansion rights in 2023 for $50 million. Now, look at their valuation, which is wild. 20x'd in 2 years. Nuts.
It's so you could say it's $1 billion or $850 million. I mean, a lot of different valuations are being thrown around there, but I do think that a lot of people see WNBA still as very much as a growth investment rather than like, hey, we're buying into a mature product. I think that with the new media rights deal that they just signed, $2.2 billion over 11 years, that's a massive step up from their previous media rights deal. You're seeing these assets as becoming even more stable, but at the same time, a much greater growth opportunity because women's basketball overall, it's about there to be taken over. Caitlin Clark has only been in the league for 2 or 3 years. Mm-hmm. At the exact same time, you have all these new burgeoning stars with Paige Beckers, Ozzy Fudd, Angel Reese, right? These players are going to come into the mix. At the same time, the college level is getting even greater attention. You're seeing the Valkyries, they only have been in the league for 1 to 2 years, and they're already able to scale up to $78 million in revenue. At the same time, they have a very high valuation. So you can see that with the right operations and given the market tailwinds around women's basketball, there's a real opportunity for even a bigger valuation jump long term.
So they had an average attendance of a little over 18,000 people per game, which is leading the league. So it makes a little sense. And if you do the numbers and you do a multiple or evaluation based off of a revenue multiple, it's pretty close. It's not wild, right? You have
Yeah,
78
it's still
million.
way high. It's still not way higher, but it's still higher than every other league. I was looking at this. Their average value to revenue multiple is 13.6. The NBA is 13.5, and then the NFL is 10.5. So, yes, they're not making as much money, but remember, the WNBA from a viewership perspective is growing way faster than the matured leagues, because the matured leagues, NFL, NBA, have existed pretty much taking over the U.S.
forever.
market already, right? Now it's the WNBA. How fast can they continue to grow and at the same time keep up that pace?
So this is the last wild thing I'll say about women's basketball. In 2021, the Las Vegas Aces were purchased by the Raiders' current owner, Mark Davis, for roughly $2 million. And now they're worth $500 million.
Really?
Isn't that
Okay,
nuts?
that's nuts.
That's a 25,000% return.
Yeah.
I guess he hasn't realized that yet, but that's wild, right? Crazy. I can't even
2
believe
million
this.
is crazy.
I feel like that's for a professional women's team, even at that point when it didn't have as much promotion as it has now, is a little shocking to me. But we could dive into that and talk about that for hours. In this world of sports real estate, FastBreak AI, the AI-powered scheduling software behind the season creation, scheduling creation of the NBA, NHL, MLB, and MLS, just bought a 17-year-old group hotel and housing management company called Group Housing. What they're really doing is they're like wiring the youth sports travel economy. 500,000 hotels are about to be added, nights a year are about to be added to FastBreak's platform, and they're essentially going to be able to have scheduling, logistics, travel, and now booking, lodging, hotels. Makes perfect sense. I mentioned this up top. Group Housing is based out of Decatur, Georgia, so another win for the folks in Georgia.
For the folks in Georgia.
Shout out Georgia. And for the people that don't know what FastBreak AI is, they raised $40 million as Series A in November in 2025, led by Graycroft and Go-to-Market Fund, GTM Fund. And investors include the NBA, NHL, Tomorrow Sports, and athletes like Larry Fitzgerald. And they raised a total of $53 million. So you have buy-in from all the big leagues. You're also servicing them, and you're their software provider.
You're running
for
their scheduling. Yeah.
So why, I guess to like break that down a tiny bit, is like for the NBA, for example, you have 82 games. There's a bunch of travel geographically, back-to-back games. How do you schedule that it's a big, complex like critical solution problem, right? You have to like optimization, and this basically uses AI to solve a lot of that and optimizes schedules and travel for each of these teams and players. So that's how they initially created their wedge in the market. And then they've basically raised a lot of this money. They've been on a M&A spree. They've acquired this is their third acquisition, I believe. And what Group Housing is actually bringing to the table is 17 years of connections and experience with every major hotel brand in the US and Canada, and marquee clients, including USA Fencing, which is cool. They have that deal until 2032. And Perfect Game
And
Baseball.
this is like the youth layer.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're basically verticalizing, right?
Yeah.
You have the pros, you're servicing the pros, and now you're going down and doing the youth stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's youth sports market's huge. Obviously, that there's a lot of travel logistics involved, especially for travel teams. So, and I feel like all of that is done by hand. Like there's no innovation, I feel like, happening at that granular of a level. So it makes sense for FastBreak to come in and be like, hey, look, we'll just optimize it fully.
You just read my mind. I was like, I had notes basically saying that FastBreak started as a boring back end because a lot of this was just done pen and paper. Even at the youth level, group hotel
it's
booking.
all like it's like a mom and dad's doing it.
Yeah,
right?
it's like local businesses and stuff, small businesses end up doing that.
Or it's like volunteering. I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of like back in the day when I was playing like youth sports, a lot of it was just like parents
trying
getting
to-
involved.
Yeah. And then tournament hotel booking is like the last modernized line item in that entire process. And they were like, let's just roll this up. So I think it's great. Very bullish on this.
Yeah.
Thoughts? Anything?
It's
You
like
don't have to
it's not
force it.
that sexy, but I think it's a smart move.
So I laid this out really quickly. So before this acquisition, a tournament director runs a youth softball event in Orlando. Imagine that. They hired Group Housing separately to negotiate hotel blocks. Families get an email and separate link to the Group Housing site to book rooms. Tournament software lives completely somewhere else. And it's 3 vendors, 3 logins, 3 separate systems. With this acquisition, this is like what the value prop is with FastBreak's acquisition. Tournament directors run the event on FastBreak. A parent registers their kid for the tournament on FastBreak, or a team or coach or whatever. In that same flow, they get to purchase a hotel room, figure out travel and logistics, and have everything negotiated by group housing. And the tournament director sees registration schedules and hotel pickup numbers, everything in one dashboard. It makes sense. Maybe we need to dive in a little bit more. Maybe try to get the FastBreak guys.
Well, I mean, it just seems like an easy fix that needs to happen. At the same time, no one's really innovating there. And let's just have FastBreak, a company that's actually building an AI product, buy out that service so they get the clientele and service them well.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to the world of emerging leagues. We experienced greatness.
Yeah.
Is that too extreme to say, or you think that's valid?
I've never seen anything like that
I've
before
also
in my
never
life.
seen. So shout out to Evan and Connor, co-founders of IDL, International Dance League. They invited us to their debut performance and debut show here in New York City for 2026. And it was their season opener. I've never seen
They sold it
anything
out. They sold out Hammerstein Hall.
There was lines wrapping around the avenue in blocks. It was crazy, right? Producer Pablo, you're going to have to pull these up. This was wild. Essentially, there's 6 teams and groups of professional and dancers, right? Professional.
They're all
amateur
jerseyed
dancers.
up too.
Yeah, they're jerseyed up. There's commentary. There's post
Game,
performance.
pregame. There's a halftime show. Saweetie was performing.
Yeah, it seemed like if a spectacle of like entertainment production met a sporting event. And they clashed
I thought it was a
and
great
meshed
mix.
perfectly.
Yeah.
So good. So 6 teams, 5 global series events in New York City. Vancouver is next. They have Sydney, Seoul, and 2 in LA for the championship. So very cool. It's 2 rounds. They're head to head, so the teams are battling each other. We're not tapped into the dancing.
So like I couldn't tell you what the technicalities of this are,
but
it's
all
like
looked
hip hop
amazing.
dancing.
Yeah.
It's like hip hop dancing. People are doing flips and stuff. It's
choreographed really well, and there was people that are in the very well known in the dance scene, dance community that were judges, and I believe there was like a 7th vote. There were six judges, and the 7th vote was the fans. So like, it was really cool. It was like QR code scan, you get to tap, and there's like a countdown to figure it out. It was very engaging.
Yeah, very engaging. Like I was literally like scanning as fast as I could because you only had 60 seconds to place the vote. But what was sick about it, and this is what I love about emerging sports, is you fully understand like who the fan is and how excited the fan is about seeing that product.
It was so loud.
People were screaming nonstop. I was like, whoa, like some of these dancers, I don't know who they are, but I mean, they got a lot of motion. So that's pretty awesome.
It felt awkward if I was just clapping, right? And
yeah.
Like, I had to be standing up, cheering from like the top of my lungs to just be a part of this. Like it seemed, it was crazy. So like,
yeah, honestly, it was like, I kind of like just wanted to stay standing up instead of sitting down.
Yeah. And we did. We just ended up
did
standing up.
We just ended up going back into standing up because we're like, look, like the music's too much fun. The dancing is so insane. Like you can't be sitting down.
So some people might ask like, how is this a sport? But it makes perfect sense. Dance is the most global thing, most primitive thing that the humans have known since the test of time. Dance is the second most participated in the sport in the US. I didn't know that. Okay. And after basketball. And they have 26 million participants, and it's the second most viewed category on TikTok. Things like TikTok, that's how the claim to fame. Like there was,
that's like influencer dancing, but this is some next level.
No, this was
next level type of dancing, and also, I mean, it's kind of solidified itself in the sports space, just based on like the capital that they've raised and who from. Right, they've raised a $7 million seed round from Elysian Park, which originally was the Dodgers investing arm. Now it's spun off in its own way as one of the leading sports VC investors. At the same time, participation with KB Partners, also an OG in the sports venture space. So they've really tapped into the capital that's flowing from the early stage sports space. And I think this could be a winner. So hopefully it becomes like really something big.
Yeah, and we're nerds now when we go to sporting events because we like to see who's sponsoring it, and it was really cool to see who is sponsoring this event. Right, this is their first kind of debut event in 2026. They had Elf Cosmetics. We're not the ideal customer for that, but I think that's like a beauty makeup brand. That was like the presenting sponsor. So there was like ad rolls, mid rolls, after performances, which was really interesting.
Everyone was looking at the screen.
Everyone was super engaged. They weren't like looking at their phones
because they just see an insane dance and then an ad pops up.
But it wasn't even an ad. It was very like creatively.
It was a creatively produced ad.
And then you had gift bags of makeup and stuff. So everyone who was sitting on the floor got it, which was really interesting. And then they had Honda, who was a presenting sponsor
Yeah,
as
because
well.
Honda Stage, I think that they do a lot of like production for dances globally, and then Ciroc as well was a sponsor too.
And there was also Shopify, like
Yeah,
that
Shopify.
where the dancers like
There was
their
like a
prep
performance
area.
like hangout like for the performers.
Yeah, it was very cool. So I'm very bullish on this. I texted. Oh, I need to email Evan and say that was one of the best things I've ever seen, because we might need to make a trip to LA for that. That was
Yeah, and
that was
watch the
cool.
next one,
I
yeah.
would go. I would go for fun.
Yeah, because I think each production will continually be different because they're always testing and improving on different things. So we'll see what the production looks like in LA, or even like I mean, it'd be sick to be able to fly out to Seoul or something to watch it, but I think it'll be different based on every city.
100% agree. Moving on to our industry spotlight, we're featuring this week. We did pretty good. We're 3 for 3. I feel like we did Jack Settleman, we did Brent Payus, and now we're doing our friend, NBA forward for the Denver Nuggets, Spencer Jones,
A legend.
producer Pablo, and the wise words of Siraj. That's 100% the right sound effect to use there. He is crushing. He just made a LinkedIn post that was kind of like first of all, he's a LinkedIn warrior, gets a bunch of engagement. I'm always reading his stuff. I'm liking, engaging. He just made a LinkedIn post where he's basically recapping that he just finished his second season in the NBA, and it was very heartfelt and thoughtful. And it was like he got his first start in the NBA, his first playoff start. It was just her first playoff.
His contract got upgraded too, I believe. Yeah.
Guaranteed NBA contract. It was really cool. And then he just crushed. I mean, he had a career playoff game, and I think that's great and stuff. But what he's doing on the court, he's obviously a great basketball player. But why I wanted to spotlight him is he's doing a bunch of cool things off of the court. We got to talk to him for 30 minutes or so, right, on a Zoom call maybe a few months ago, and he's actively interested in the investing, venture, early stage startup side of sports.
Yeah, he went to Stanford, so I mean, he was already pretty much tapped into Silicon Valley, and he wanted to keep those roots. At the same time, I believe he studied engineering too.
Yeah.
So he's pretty
Management
much,
sciences and engineering.
Yeah, management science and engineering. So basically, business as an engineering degree.
It's kind of what I studied.
Which is probably what I would have studied if I went to Stanford. But I think it's really it's smart for athletes to continue to leverage their platform. I also think it's smart to access LinkedIn or to continually use LinkedIn and be a LinkedIn warrior, because that's your way to build kind of this persona for people that might not even be tapped into basketball.
100%.
Right? A lot of people know who Fernando Mendoza is, and a lot of them are not NFL fans. They're like, hey, look, I generally just saw him on LinkedIn. And he's a LinkedIn ambassador too.
Yeah, and and that's like a perfect vehicle to make off-field and off-court money and revenue, because you're becoming very brand friendly. You're showing other people that you're there's a professional side to you and a business side to you. And most athletes, I think a lot of athletes do have that, right? But
yeah, I'm seeing it way more. A ton of athletes are becoming LinkedIn warriors.
Sean O'Malley, UFC star, just announced he got a LinkedIn. I sent him a request, but he hasn't accepted me yet.
All of our boys from Athlete Biz Week, they all got LinkedIns.
Yeah, NFL
Chase,
Biz Week.
Carl, Kendall, everyone.
And to top it off, I mean, Spencer had a mini docuseries for All-Star Weekend, for NBA All-Star Weekend in LA a few months ago, where he sat down for 5 or 6 minutes in that video, and he basically talked about his background, his interest in the business of sports, in the business and venture, finance, and tech. So I thought it was really cool, and I'm continuing
to showcase your business persona. That is, in my opinion, one of the best things an athlete can do.
Wishing Spencer continued success, and I'm sure we'll be close and help in any way we can. But thought it would be a good point. He's my pick for who I would spotlight this week. So next week you have to pick who you'd spotlight. I feel like I've been doing the heavy lifting on who.
No. I recommended to spotlight Brent.
Yeah, you did.
That was me.
No, okay, but next week you have to pick.
Yeah, I'll pick for next week.
Okay, cool. All right, so we said this up top. This is mostly M&A and investments news, but we have to keep the 10-week streak alive. I think it has to be part of a new fund alert.
Fund alert.
And William Blair, a Chicago-based investment bank that's done $850 billion in transaction value in the last 5 years alone, just bought Inner Circle Sports, a boutique investment bank focused on sports transactions. If that name doesn't ring a bell for the people that are interested in the sports business landscape, it definitely should. So Inner Circle Sports is the boutique behind the Liverpool sale to Fenway, the Milwaukee Bucks deal, the 76ers, the Padres, the 49ers, basically every modern sports deal this investment bank was behind. And a interesting quote from the global head of investment banking for William & Blair, Matt Zimmer, he basically said this about the transaction. Youth or sports media entertainment is a key strategic priority, and specifically called out youth and collegiate athletics alongside pro sports as a growth drivers. This is very interesting. We see a traditional financial institution like William Blair buy up a sports-focused boutique investment bank. We've seen KKR buy Arctos, right? Another traditional financial institution that typically didn't have sports exposure. They bought up a sports-focused, private equity fund. Are we going to continue seeing this type of trend?
Yeah. So a lot of people, these traditional financial institutions, they want to get exposure to sports. Now, for KKR, you can say, and KKR and even William Blair, you can say, hey, look, we want to get exposure to sports because we see that there's a high volume of transactions. At the same time, the industry overall is growing. But I think that the point that people are missing is that it's also not just about the transaction volume and the valuations. It's the people that are buying into sports. Sports in of itself is a scarce asset class. Now that minority stakes have opened up, you're seeing wealthy billionaires, founders, Fortune 500 executives, fund managers that are buying into minority stakes of teams or buying teams overall. And it's boutique sports agencies or sports M&A funds or firms like Inner Circle Sports that are helping facilitate those transactions. At the same time, Arctos was doing that when they were buying up minority stakes, and their LP base that they were servicing also had that demographic. Mm-hmm. And what you have to realize is that William Blair, they have to be a full service M&A group. And if their clients are going to another investment bank in order to service sports transactions, that may actually be a reason why they wouldn't want to work with William Blair. So in order to be a full service M&A advisory shop, you have to have sports and entertainment as a category. And so I think that's also a big reason why they acquired Inner Circle Sports. And another reason why KKR wanted to buy Arctos, because they wanted to have continued access to GP solutions, and those GP solutions are involved with sports, entertainment.
Yeah, makes 100% sense. So I read somewhere that the team will continue to operate under the Inner Circle brand, but we'll see what that, for the foreseeable future, but we'll see what that happens, what that means.
And then all the billionaires that were buying stakes in sports teams from Inner Circle Sports, they might be working with William Blair for their other investments that they've been doing.
So pretty strategic move on their end. Very interesting. And good to keep the streak alive, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're playing a new game now. We're in startups and venture capital news this past week. I have one startup that I'm highlighting, and you have to tell me if you're bullish or bearish on it, okay? Okay. So Bathhouse, the Brooklyn-based sauna and premium luxury experience facility, just closed a $35 million round led by Imaginary Ventures, and they had a cap table that reads like a pro sports team roster. They had Klay Thompson, Marcus Smart, DK Metcalf, 28 investors in total. And the athlete investors came in through Plus Capital. Remember Plus Capital when we were doing our research? They're a celebrity and athlete venture advisory firm. And they essentially are trying to use this capital to expand. So they started in 2019 in Williamsburg, and their second location is Flatiron, pretty close to here. And they day passes start at $39, and membership goes up to anywhere from $145 to $225 per month. What do you think just based off of that?
So all I've heard is the price point and what it is.
And who invested.
Imaginary Ventures is a premier consumer investing fund. They're actually the one who led the seed round for Skims. They've also, some of their portfolio includes, I think, Farfetched as well, Barrow, which I believe is Tom Holland's non-alcoholic beer brand. So pretty good VC fund. Obviously, you have a bunch of athletes that are getting involved in the mix. Overall, I'm just bullish on this market. because I think that consumer health and wellness that's community driven is going to take over the market because it has the biggest connection towards new generations. Look, Gen Z and Gen Alpha, they're not drinking as much alcohol. They're very much more focused on longevity.
Yeah.
And a lot of that has to do with recovery outside of traditional like stretching and Pilates or, just like the traditional forms of exercising. People are now looking at sauna and cold plunge as a way to boost their longevity, given, all the data that's come out now and a lot more research that's been put into it as well. And so I also think that given how much technology has been like so rudimentary nowadays when it comes to like social media, AI, I think a lot of people want to like disconnect away from their phones and like go back to what it used to be like. And these hubs, these communities are the ones that are providing that access. So I've done a lot. I love Othership. I've spoken with, it's a competitor, but I do like this market overall. I'm very bullish on Bathhouse as well. I think that this market can take over and actually expand outside of coastal cities because look, it's really popular in cities like New York City, LA. I know that Othership is in Toronto. If you can prove that you can expand to tier 2, tier 3 cities where you have a Bathhouse in San Antonio that does really, really well, then I think that this could potentially be a multi-billion-dollar industry overall, like just the community health and wellness space.
Yeah.
If they could prove that, then that'd be huge. But I think Bathhouse is going to try to test this out, right? They're expanding.
Yeah. So they're expanding to 10 nationwide locations. LA flagship is about to be an 85,000 square foot location. Supposed to include 7 sauna and steam rooms, one holding 250 people plus 10 thermal pools. I don't even know how that's possible, but pretty cool, I guess. And then they're trying to expand to New Jersey, Chicago, Nashville, and they're targeting other cities like Atlanta, Boston, Dallas, San Diego.
Like if it can pop off in Nashville, that would be insane.
I think it could pop. I think it pop off. I mean, I think San Diego is a great fit, which is on their list. DC makes sense. Atlanta, Boston. I think they're all.
I think Atlanta would actually work a lot. You put that in Midtown, I think a lot of people would.
Yeah, somewhere. Yeah, no, I agree. And this is a really cool thing that I saw. So Bathhouse heats its pools using Bitcoin mining rigs. So 12 ASICs in Brooklyn, 20 in Manhattan. They earned 1.5 Bitcoin last year from the mining. Yeah, which is like $90,000. Which is crazy, right?
Kill 2 birds with one stone.
I guess do you think the investors underwrote that as well?
I don't think they care.
No, well, I actually,
that's like stunt marketing at its finest, I guess.
No, there's utility there. But here's the thing. I'm bullish on it. One, I want to go experience it. So I mean, if it's around here,
you've been to Othership too.
I've been to Othership. I like Othership. We should go try this one. Producer Pablo, we should take a trip together, all of us, to go check it out.
I mean, I love saunas. I think that's I
agree, but I think it's really competitive market, right? Like there's Bathhouse, Othership, Remedy Place. So Bathhouse by far has raised the most, 35. Othership has raised the second most at 20 million plus. I don't know. It's pretty competitive. We'll see which one gets the mass scale, but that's what I think. And the North American thermal and mineral springs industry is over $1 billion. So, and way higher in Europe, like close to $30 billion. So.
Yeah, European, it's a lot more like localized though. It's like a lot more community oriented. Some of these are just like they're not even shops. Like they're literally for free.
Yeah.
And they build it up on their own. Here, it's like, can we try to commercialize this business? I think you need to have some form of full stack where you're able to provide longevity tools outside of just the real estate. So what's interesting about Othership is they have their own breathwork app as well. So you can continually tap into that longevity focused meditation that you're doing at Othership, but at home as well. Obviously, you still want to go to the location to get the full experience because it's like none other. But I think that you need to tap into these other categories. The whole idea is that you're building really a community. And so at the same time, you got to provide services outside of just the saunas and the cold plunges.
Yeah, I agree. In cool partnership news this week, the Savannah Bananas partnered with Dude Perfect, and they played in Texas A&M Stadium for 102,000 attendees.
102,000?
102,000. That's the second largest.
Did they just sell out Texas A&M Stadium?
Yeah, they sold it out. That's
the house that Johnny built?
Yeah, the second highest attendance ever for a baseball game. Crazy, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
I actually can't even. That's more than the MLB. That's like shocking.
So Savannah Bananas has really mastered the ability to turn sport into just a pure experience.
Yeah.
Obviously, like, people watch baseball for the love of the game and they want to see that competition. I think that what they've realized is that you have all these massive stadiums. Let's go put that to work for just entertainment value as well, but mix something that people can understand immediately from the get-go, which is baseball. I think they made their own game, Banana Ball, as well, and they're building a league around it too.
And it goes viral on socials, right? So it's like, for people that don't know Savannah Bananas baseball, they're like these baseball players that are like dancing in the middle of like the game and stuff. It keeps audience engaged to see.
They're like dressed up too.
They're dressed up. There's like entertainment factor to it. You just have to see it. Producer Pablo, you're gonna have to show a clip of this because
Have you been to it?
I have not. I've not, and I feel like we should, right?
So one of my buddies, actually, he's an assistant at Gersh, and one of their clientele is actually part of the Savannah Bananas. So he's been to a game at Yankee Stadium, and he said it was like awesome.
Really?
Such a fun experience. Like, everyone in the crowd is cheering and is laughing, and it's like they're able to get the audience engaged, even though they have 100,000 plus people in the crowd.
Okay, so it doesn't even like, I don't think the coolness and what we're talking about even gives justice to the business behind this. So supposedly the team makes, or the organization makes, $100 to $150 million in annual revenue.
Which is crazy.
Okay. Some are saying, or Forbes is saying, that Savannah Bananas is around $500 million valuation. Jesse Cole, the founder, has said he's turned down acquisition offers at $1 billion, which is wild. They have more TikTok followers than every MLB team combined. Okay. And they just are like, him and his wife own 100% of it. This is like the perfect, I mean, this is awesome.
I don't even know how you would sell a business like this, given how involved the ownership is. Like he is the heart and soul of Savannah Bananas, right? So it's hard for him to just be like, yeah, I'm going to sell this business. Like if he's not running the show, how else is it going to run?
Yeah, he has a bunch of great interviews online. One in particular is the My First Million one, where he sits down with Sean Puri and Sam Parr, basically talks about how he's always focused on making this. He was focused on details, the small things. He's making the players feel like they're important, right? Yeah. From when training camp starts, I think he sends a like police escort in a private bus from the hotel to the stadium or the facility, which is literally like a few minutes, if not seconds, of a commute.
Yeah.
And it's like, basically, like, you guys are stars. You guys are entertainers. And if you make the players feel like that, the players and on-field performers will make the fans feel like they're, watching something amazing. So it's the small details. It's really cool. I would love to sit down with them one day. We got to get them on the show.
No, 100%. We got to go to a game. When they're back in New York.
Yeah.
Or when they're in Atlanta. I mean, it literally started in Georgia, right? So
they supposedly sold their house and slept on air mattresses in their garage when they're first starting this out, and they went to almost $2 million in debt.
That's the true hustle grind right there.
Of a founder, right?
That's what I love. That founder mentality.
I agree. I mean, there's so many cool things I could list off about this, but I think we should do an entire segment on this one day. Like dive deep into
the business behind it.
Yeah.
I think we should, because I think we'll see more of this type of scale where you look at sports, but it's just the pure entertainment value, not really the competitive nature of it and the professional nature of it. IDL was kind of an interesting mix of that, although it is a professional sport, but you may see that for maybe for basketball, maybe for football.
I think there's a bunch of learnings these emerging sports leagues and teams can learn from Savannah Bananas.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like literally amazing.
Especially for an emerging league, focus on the spectacle.
It's very exciting. All right. It's coming to an end, but Professor Paramanu.
Wow.
Give us the quick rundown and crash course on AP prediction markets.
Okay, it's not going to be an AP history lesson, but I'm going to give you the rundown of what's been happening with prediction markets. A lot of different news. Obviously, court cases have been a big deal, and there was actually recent news on regards to the federal court with the Arizona case. Arizona's obviously, all these states are essentially suing the CFTC, Kalshi, Polymark, and the prediction markets, essentially saying that they're illegal forms of betting and gambling. And the distinction here is that these are federally regulated trading markets. And Arizona, the federal court actually sided with CFTC. I'll read a quote here from an excerpt. federal judge ordered Arizona to pause prosecution against Kalshi on Tuesday, aligning with the other courts and aligning the prediction market website to continue to host bets on states and federal elections. I would say trades more than bets. Though he initially denied Kalshi's preemptive request for a restraining order, U.S. District Judge Michael T. Liberty reversed course and agreed with the prediction market that the state likely exceeded its authority in prosecuting federally regulated commodities exchanges. So it goes to show that prediction markets being so aligned with the federal government provides a layer of protection that states aren't able to really encroach. States really care about protecting betting and gambling, whether they are illegal or legal. One, if they're illegal in that state, they don't want people betting or gambling to begin with. If it is legal, betting and gambling is actually it's a strong source of tax revenue. And so they want to protect that because prediction markets aren't giving them that value. But I think at some point there's a chance that this goes up to Supreme Court and it's decided once and for all. My guess is that it's going to be federally protected continually.
Prediction markets are safe, you're saying?
I think prediction markets are definitely, especially
so.
with the amount of capital that's being poured in and how ubiquitous it's becoming.
And it's partnering with like the news outlets, pro sports teams.
Exactly.
Everyone
it's
has
very much being embedded into society,
yeah.
and at the same time, they're federally regulated. So it's really hard to push back against this, especially when all the betting and gambling companies are going into prediction markets. Actually, DraftKings, the Milken conference was there. DraftKings President Operations Paul Lieberman was at Milken in LA, and he was essentially saying that sports prediction markets, they're going to obviously venture in. They acquired Railbirds, and it's going to be their way to expand sports trading or betting into 50 states. And I think that's a really good opportunity for betting and gambling companies to scale up operations across, instead of just 39 states, across the entire U.S. At the same time, Underdog actually hired a new chief legal officer, Nick Lundgren. He actually was the former CLO of Crypto.com. If you guys don't remember this, but Underdog and Crypto.com actually partnered up because Underdog wanted to bring sports prediction markets on their platform, and Crypto.com had the infrastructure to do so. But now Underdog is the first sports company to have the complete prediction market license stacks, a DCM, DCO, and FCM. The DCM is the exchange itself. The DCO is the clearinghouse in order to get those payments through or get those trades through. And FCM is the broker to handle all the front end of a prediction market app. And so it makes sense. Continually bolster up your legal force, your legal arm, because state lawsuits are going to come here and there, and at the same time, for these companies, you got to protect yourself. Lastly, FanDuel CEO Amy Howe, she is officially out of FanDuel after 5 years.
Wow.
I think what you're seeing is, for one, Flutter, and then FanDuel. I mean, these are juggernauts in betting and gambling. They've been suffering quite significantly. In one, public markets are not viewing them that well, given that prediction markets are essentially stealing their lunch money. Flutter stock down 60% in the last year, 4% after the news about Amy Howe essentially leaving, stepping down, ousted, whatever you want to call it. DraftKings is down 30% in that same window. There has to be a fundamental shift in strategic direction, I think, for these major betting and gambling companies. In my opinion, they're still positioned very well given how big their user base is. I think that if you really double down on prediction markets, there's an opportunity, especially on the sports side, to compete with Kalshi and Polymarket. And remember, sports trading by far is the biggest category on prediction markets. So I think there's a lot of opportunity. You're going to see a lot of different chess pieces moving. But overall, I think that the company side, they're not going to sit still. They're going to continually focus on building products that revolve around event contracts. And at the same time, the federal government is going to be battling against the state governments on protecting prediction markets as a platform.
I actually really like our AP prediction markets sector and segment of the show. It's really interesting. There's so much noise happening, and having someone clearly explain it is really
well.
helpful.
I hope I clearly explained it.
I mean, to me. So
yeah, I'll give a crash course the next time on what these certain things are, because understanding what a DCM, DCO, FCM is like. And
shout out our friend Sam Berman at Underdog. When we're getting feedback, we're setting this show to get feedback from people close to us, and he's a big fan of the prediction markets AP history segment. Yeah, he likes that segment a lot. So
okay,
we'll have to keep it going.
Shout out Sam.
Yeah, and we'll probably feature him soon, I'm sure, in our spotlight. But great work. I thought today was great and very informative. Great week, and Another
I'm just
week.
hoping that the new fund alert streak stays alive for next week.
Please, someone start a new fund.
Someone
Producer
start a
Pablo,
new
you gotta
fund.
start a new
Just-
fund.
Maybe we just got to like put out a press release on Sports Business Journal. The fourth quarter is
Fourth quarter
starting
fund?
a prediction markets fund. We're raising $100.
No, we have to save that until we're at like 99 days, 99 weeks, and there's like one, and there's nothing there. We need to save that announcement. Where it's the
for the
that.
100th.
Yeah, exactly. Great work. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on the fourth quarter.